Okay, it's all yours, Sheena.
All right, thank you, Dr. Butler. As Dr. Butler said, my name is Sheena Aikens. I am a Deputy Chief Procurement Officer here at Cook County Government in the Office of the Chief Procurement Officer. Rafi Sarafian, he is our chief, our feelers leader. And as Dr. Butler mentioned, we work very closely with compliance. We're two separate entities, but we do go hand in hand. OCPO post solicitation opportunity to the public, and then compliance, they work with us to make sure that those MBE goals are being met and monitored, and vendors are being paid the way they should. So we work very closely hand in hand with each other. It's very much a partnership, as she stated earlier. But
I'm sorry, Sheena.
Yes.
They're asking if you can speak up just a little
Oh,
bit louder.
I'm so sorry. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes,
I'm sorry. I think my headphones are going out. Okay. This is better?
this is better.
Okay. So I'll just repeat that. My name is Sheena Aikens. I'm the Deputy Chief Procurement Officer for operations here at Cook County, in the Office of the Chief Procurement Officer. As Dr. Butler said, we do work closely, very hand in hand with contract compliance. OCPO posts our solicitations and contract opportunities to the public, and then compliance helps monitor the MBE goals, the utilization plan, and just to make sure our vendors are being paid appropriately. So I'm going to go into a couple of quick tips and useful information on how to do business with OCPO, at least, some of the departments that we serve, some of the things that we do, a few tips on things to look for when we post opportunities and while reviewing our documentation. And then I'll go through a live demo of some of our key websites that you should make note of, and then some of the documents that we require with some of our solicitations that we get the most common questions about. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Give me 1 second. Oh, Dr. Bella, I don't think I have the ability to share my screen. Oh, there it is. See it. Sorry. It says you disabled.
Oh boy. Okay, hold on 1 second.
Okay. Here we go. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So again, this is a quick little seminar on how to do business with Cook County. So I'll just go ahead and jump right into it. Here in the Office of the Chief Procurement Officer, our mission is to provide an open and transparent procurement process that promotes maximum competition, delivers procurement opportunities to our community, implements efficient procurement practices, and leverages the county's overall resources to achieve best value and quality. So we're really big on competition and transparency. Some of our values are integrity, innovation, improvement, customer service, and educating and empowering our users, which our CPO, Rafi, he is very diligent about making sure we meet these values. He's always trying to find new ways to be innovative and to educate the public and our end users on upcoming opportunities and things like that. So we really do stick to that mission quite heavily. We are mandated by the Cook County Procurement Code. And by code, we are required to, or we're responsible for procuring the commodities, construction, equipment, services, and supplies. And all of those things encompass a large area of things that we purchase. But we do that to maintain the operations throughout Cook County offices under the president, as well as elected officials. So some of the opportunities, or I'm sorry, the priorities that OCPO has are, number one, expanding our opportunities. So like I said earlier, we want to make sure that our process is efficient, customer friendly, and as transparent as possible. We focus on enhancing accessibility to our procurement process, making it easy to understand and use, and communicating information about our solicitations and how to succeed in winning our business. And we've done that through various different resources, a lot in conjunctions with the Office of Contract Compliance, where we host vendor fairs, or we help attend vendor fairs. We help participate in webinars such as this to get information out to our end users and to the community about how to do business with Cook County and specifically OCPO. We post information and Bonfire on our website all the time. So these are just some of the ways that we try to expand our opportunities. Some of the priorities here in OCPO: to ensure fair and transparent competition. You're going to see that a lot because we're really big on making sure everything is fair and transparent and open to the public. We want to make sure that all of our agencies get the best value. Guarding against favoritism, extravagance, fraud, and etc. Ensuring that the results that we do procure meet our agency needs. We're really big on driving cost savings and protecting the interest of Cook County and its taxpayers. So the offices that we support, we support the offices under the president, right? So that's everyone under the Bureau of Administration. And here's a list of the departments within that bureau. The Bureau of Asset Management, our facilities department is a really big one under asset management. Economic Development, the Bureau of Finance, which includes the OCPO, contract compliance, comptroller, revenue, budget, things like that. And then a number of other bureaus that are under the Office of the President. We also serve offices of the elected officials. So these are the offices where Cook County residents vote for the head of that office. So here is a list of all of those offices: the chief judge, the county clerk, public administrator, state's attorney, sheriff. Those are all individuals that the county votes for to be in office. So we purchase for offices under the president, every bureau, and then as well as elected officials. My apologies. Okay. So offices we do not support, and this is a common misconception when we are posting opportunities. We do not support or procure for the Forest Preserve District or the Health and Hospital System in Cook County. They have their own procurement authority and their own procurement department. They post their solicitations and evaluate them separately from us. Even though they are a sister agency, we do not procure for them. We do not procure for the Cook County Housing Authority or the Workforce Board or the Land Bank. We don't procure for the City of Chicago or sister agencies of Chicago, and that includes CHA, the Park District, CHA, RTA, any of our other sister agencies or public agencies here in Chicago, as well as the Metropolitan Water Reclamation or other entities of the state of Illinois, right? So we're just Cook County government and those offices that I listed previously under the president and the elected officials. So why partner with Cook County? First, Cook County is the second most populous county in the nation, meaning we have the second largest amount of people in this county, not meaning that we're the largest. We're just the most populous county in the nation. And we invest over $1.3 billion each year in various goods and services. Now, those are the numbers that we run for OCPO, and specifically, that does not include all the other agencies that have their own procurement authority within Cook County. So this is just the numbers from OCPO, and it's quite a lot that we do spend or invest in our businesses throughout Cook County. And so those procurements can range from small office supplies, pens and paper, to large buildings and road construction, or any type of infrastructure rehabilitation. We offer a wide range of resources focused on inclusivity, innovation, and economic growth to all of our vendors or potential vendors when we post opportunities. We conduct our procurement process in a competitive, open, and fair environment. And so, like I said, we're going to drive that pretty heavily in OCPO, fair and transparent procurement. Everyone involved in the process is required to adhere to the same policies and procedures to ensure that fair competition. So we do make sure that when we're posting our solicitations, all the requirements are fair and reasonable for everyone who has the opportunity to submit a response or a bid to any of our contract opportunities. So another reason to do business with Cook County, and this is something we are proud of, within the last couple of years, we have started using Bonfire, which is our procurement system. It's a web-based, user-friendly procurement system where we post all of our solicitations. Some of you on this call may be very familiar with Bonfire from Cook County or from other agencies, but it allows us to post our contract opportunities to the public and receive responses all in one system. Bonfire houses our project, it houses our contracts, and it allows us to work through each of our projects all in one system. So it's a web-based system. You have access to Bonfire wherever you have access to the internet. All you have to do is register and log in and create a username, and password, and then you can check on opportunities anytime at your leisure. It's available on your phone as well as on any type of devices such as tablets or laptops, computers, wherever you have internet. So that's one of the great things about Bonfire. Anyone can use it anywhere at any time. Vendors are able to view our contract requirements and specifications in Bonfire, as well as send questions to the assigned buyer directly in the portal. Previous to Bonfire, our vendors would have to submit questions via email to the buyer, and they'd have to pull those questions down, hoping that they get captured them all. But in Bonfire, it houses every question that we receive directly in that project so that we don't have to search for them and nothing gets missed. So it really helps streamline that process. And then vendors are able to upload all of their submittal requirements, all of the required documentation, as well as their bid tables, pricing information directly in the browser also. So it's really just a one-stop shop for the whole procurement process here at Cook County. So it's really something that we've been happy to be using, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback about. One of the things about Bonfire is vendors are able to register their company information and select any and all commodity codes that apply to your area of work. So whenever you select a commodity code or codes, plural, which we do encourage that you do, select more than one. When we post an opportunity that is associated with that procurement, with that commodity code or that code group, the email address associated with your profile will be notified automatically by Bonfire, letting you know that, hey, an opportunity in your area of work has been posted by Cook County. So that's really great too, because vendors, instead of checking back and forth with the buyer of when things are going to be posted or checking our homepage, they get notified right in their email of when we post opportunities. So we're really happy about the way that Bonfire kind of streamlines that process and communicates to our vendors contract opportunities here in OCPO. So another big reason to partner with Cook County are our bid preferences and credits. I'm not sure how many of you have seen our actual IFB template, and this applies to bids only, but Cook County does offer a number of incentives to encourage bidders and vendors to do business with us or to apply for opportunities with us in the form of credits, right? So depending on the type of credit you apply for, you may receive a discount off of your bid price. What that means is if you are approved for that particular credit, and here's a list of all of them here, and I can go through what each of those means in a second. But if you are approved for that, or if you apply for and are approved for that particular credit, the total bid amount that you propose, OCPO will make a note of whatever discount you guys apply for with your overall bid amount. That doesn't change the contract award amount. That just gives you better chances of being the lowest bidder. So for example, if you apply for the local business preference and you were awarded that preference and your overall bid amount was $100,000, the award amount that OCPO determines will be at $95,000. Your contract will still be $100,000, but the $95,000 will be used to determine your award. So if you came in at $100,000 and another vendor came in at $98,000 and you apply for that 5% credit and you won, your award amount would be the $95,000. So you would beat out that the next vendor prior to the one that you submitted your bid for. Does that make sense? How that works? Your contract amount will still be the $100,000, but we will make the determinant with that 5% for your award to help you win the bid. And I can go over that in more detail if you guys want. But here's a list of some of the credits that we do offer, and they are outlined in the IFB document. So the local bid preference, if you guys have a headquarters here in Cook County, we give 5% for that. A veteran-owned business or a business that hires veterans, we give credits for each of those, and they're different, different percentages. We give credits for people with vendors whose business is owned by a person or people with disabilities. And apprenticeship earned credits. So if you guys do have an apprenticeship or students doing an apprenticeship with you, we offer credit for that. We have the reentry employment credit. So if you're hiring anyone who has just been released from incarceration or any felons, we offer a small credit for that. The youth employment credit, that's also in line with the apprenticeship credit, where if you guys are hiring youth, and I believe that's 18 or below of proper working years, we offer a credit for that. And then if you offer recycled products, whether it's for paper products, clothing products, or things like that, we offer an additional credit for those as well to assist to assist you in being the lowest bidder for that particular project. Now, you can only apply for one of these credits. We can't award all of them, but the one you do apply for, that percentage will apply toward the award amount of your bid. Okay. So next I'll get into really quickly just some of the ways that we procure here at Cook County, and I'm sure a lot of you know most of these types of solicitations. There are two kinds: the competitive solicitations and non-competitive. Competitive solicitations are posted to the public. They are advertised in our newspaper. They are posted on our website, and they're an opportunity for any and everyone who's registered in our system or under those commodity codes to give us a proposal or bid in return for that solicitation. And our competitive solicitation includes an invitation for bid or an IFB. So this solicitation is solely based on price. Cook County or the using agency is well aware of the specifications that they want. They just want to make sure that we are selecting a vendor that gives us the best price for whatever we specified. So we know the exact scope or specifications that we're looking for. We're just looking for you all to give us the best price for it, and the lowest responsive and responsible bidder will receive that award. That's an invitation for bid. It's solely based on price. The request for proposal includes an evaluation committee. So it's pricing is considered for award, but it's not the determining factor like with an IFB. We review the approach and work plan, the methodology, the proposed personnel along with pricing. So with an RFP, when we post these to the public, we have an idea of the end result that we're trying to accomplish. We're just relying on the vendor as a subject matter expert to give us a roadmap on how to get there. So we'll evaluate all the proposals, every vendor's approaches to see which one best meets the need of our agency. And that's the vendor that will receive the award, or the multiple vendors who receive the award for an RFP. A request for qualifications or an RFQ is similar to an RFP in that we do receive a proposal or your qualifications for this type of work, but they're mainly used when we are trying to solicit for a pool of vendors. And that applies a lot to constructions, not only to construction, but a lot to our construction projects. So we have a designated line of work that we need vendors for. Let's say it's, redoing highways throughout Cook County. We'll request an RFP or an RFQ from all of our vendors just to make sure that they're qualified to do the work. And we'll select vendors based on that evaluation. And then we'll create a pool. So anytime we need those highways, built or redone, we'll pull from the pool just to make sure that we have a vendor in line to do that work when it comes up. So that's the difference between an RFQ and an RFP. Our non-competitive solicitations are not posted to the public. These are the ones where we go directly to the vendor that we are contracting with and negotiate the contract directly with them. And those include sole sources, piggybacks, group procurements, and emergencies, to name a few. Right, so sole sources are those procurements where there's only one vendor in the market that can provide that specialized service or specialized technique that no other vendor can provide, and we do require justification for that. A piggyback is one where there was another master agency that did the solicitation already, and they have vetted the contract, awarded a contract or multiple contracts to vendors, and they're giving other public agencies the ability to utilize that contract. So let's say, for example, the city of Chicago did a master procurement for office supplies, and I'm just going to make this up. And to save time and resources and to receive the better economies of scale, we want to piggyback off of that agreement. So all we're going to do is enter directly into a contract with that vendor through the city of Chicago's contract. So we're not doing our own solicitation. We're piggybacking off of a solicitation and an awarded contract that another public agency has vetted already. For group procurements or consortium procurements, there is an agency or an entity that has done that also, like Omnia Partners or Sourcewell. I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard of those entities or are a part of those, but they do the procurement for us for various goods and services, and we're allowed to not necessarily piggyback, but utilize the contracts that they've already vetted for us for whatever area that we're looking for. And then obviously emergencies to decrease the threat to public safety or a loss of records or to discontinue destruction of certain buildings or infrastructure throughout Cook County. We don't have the time or resources to do an actual solicitation, so we go directly to the vendor for an emergency. And those are kind of exempt for certain parts of the code. So that's why they're able to move more quickly. And these are just a few. There are a few more, but these are the most common ones that we do here in OCPO. So just to give you guys an idea of the volume of work that we do here, and these are just for our solicitations and our active contract summary for FY23 alone. Here's a list of all of the general summary of the competitive solicitations that we did, right? So for an IFBs, which were the formal bids, we did a total of 62 of those last year, totaling $150 million. We did 46 RFPs totaling $229 million. We did 29 RFQs totaling $70 million. So the work is out there and available. All you guys have to do is check our website and register so that you can be notified of these opportunities. And then our single source procurements or our non-competitive solicitations. Here's a snapshot of some of the ones we did and the volume of those as well. And again, anything that is above $150,000 does have to be approved by the board. So these are ones that were approved by the board. And then there are some that were under our CPO's authority where he can sign directly without going to the board. And then our active contract summary. So this is not just the solicitations that we've done. This is a list of all of the contracts that are active, that were active in FY23. So professional services, we had 264 of those totaling over $1 billion. We had commodities, so that's, paper products, equipment, cars, lumber, material. We have 152 active contracts for commodities totaling $300 million. Construction projects, we had 70 of those. Construction management projects, we had 13 of those. Work services, so those would be things like plumbing, electrician, moving services, landscaping, all of those kind of things. We have 102 contracts active right now for those type of services. And then 43 active contracts for architecture and engineering. So just to give you guys an idea of the volume we do and the work that's out there, there are plenty of opportunities for you all to do business with us. It's just a matter of finding out how, finding out when to look, where to look, and that's what we're here to guide you through. So partnering with Cook County, what's the first step that you guys want to take? I mentioned the Bonfire vendor portal multiple times, but that's the first thing that you want to do. If you are not already registered on the vendor portal, that is step one. To make sure that you visit the vendor portal, create your account and your password, and select any and all commodity codes that apply to your line of work. And the reason why I say that is if you narrow yourself to just one commodity code, like office supplies, for example, or moving or furniture, you're limiting yourself to other opportunities that might be close, but not that exact code specifically. So any and all codes that apply, even if it's, far-fetched, if you want to be notified of opportunities, go ahead and select as many commodity codes as you can. And we use the UNSPCS commodity codes, and I can provide the link to that, and I'll show you guys what that looks like in a second, just in case you guys want to look up the type of codes that we use. And like I said, once your registration is complete, and you are assigned, you selected your commodity codes. When we post opportunities in Bonfire, every vendor that's associated with a commodity code that we're posting will be notified in Bonfire that, hey, this opportunity is available for you to review and submit a proposal or bid to. The second part of that is to view our awarded contracts and amendments on Open Data. So Open Data is one of our public-facing sites. It's on our homepage. We are required to post all of our executed contracts and amendments there as a reference for potential bidders and to the public. So that's a good resource, because what you guys can do is look at the template for our contract, look at the boilerplate, all of our terms and conditions for each type of contract that we do, and all of the supporting documentation. So you can get familiar with how to complete documents that are required for our contract record. That's part one. The second part of looking at Open Data is gaining information about our incumbent vendors. So if you're ever curious about how a proposal was submitted, what pricing was submitted for a certain vendor, you can look up their exact pricing. Sometimes the bid table is posted. Sometimes it's just a summary of the pricing or their pricing schedule. So you're able to see that and adjust your bid or your proposal accordingly. So not to say like copy it, but it's a starting point for you all to see what an awarded contract looks like. and how vendors are filling out their documentation to get an award. So that's a very good place to start. And I'll actually walk through both of these sites at the end of this presentation. The next thing that you guys want to do is review opportunities and ask questions, right? So we are required to post all of our contract opportunities in a number of places. One is Bonfire. The other is Open Data. So not only do we post our awarded contract and amendments, our bid tabulations, but we also post our upcoming opportunities there. And also in the Chicago Tribune. That's our formal legal ad revenue avenue. And then, like I said, ask questions. And the best way to do that is, one, to attend a pre-bid or pre-proposal conference, right? So anytime we post a bid or an RFP and RFQ, there's normally a pre-bid or pre-proposal conference associated with them. And that is where the using department, compliance, as well as OCPO, our ethics department, everyone involved in any review of our solicitations will be in that meeting explaining to you what's required. Right, so you'll be able to see all of the submittal requirements that we from OCPO, all the documentation that we need. The user department will give you more insight into the scope of work or the specifications. You can ask questions in that meeting about those items. So that's a very good place to start, just to gain information about exactly what we're looking for. And then the other place is when you guys are looking at the opportunity in Bonfire, like I said earlier, you can submit your questions directly in the browser, and it'll populate directly to the browser, directly to the buyer, in real time. And we do encourage you all to do that. So any questions about the documentation that we require, because some of those documents are lengthy and can be confusing if you're not used to them, but we're happy to answer any questions. So please, please, please feel free to reach out when you guys are looking and reviewing opportunities. If you have any questions about scope requirements, specifications, any submittal requirements, we're happy to review those and assist you guys with those as well. We can't tell you how to complete your bid, but we can walk you through some of the steps that are needed to complete your paperwork, so to speak. And then the last part of that is to actually submit your response in Bonfire. So here are a couple of tips when it comes to the submittal requirements when trying to partner with Cook County, right? So the document, the actual template for each type of solicitation we do is different. So please, please, please pay very close attention to that. Our RFP template and our bid template are completely different, and those are different than our sole source in emergencies or piggyback templates. So please, please, please keep that in mind when reviewing. There are some sections in one document that are not in another, or they may be in a different spot in that template. So review carefully to make sure you fully understand what you're looking at and what we're asking for. For the RFP and RFQ, for example, the background, the objective and outcomes and goals, those are really crucial in understanding how we got to the point where we're posting the solicitation. You know, where the need came from, how the need arose, and where we're trying to go. That'll help you guys paint a better picture of how to help us get there. And I know that should go without saying, but I have had vendors say, I don't review that as closely. I just look at the main scope and submit based on that. That is important, but the background to how we got to where we are right now is really crucial in solving the problem going forward. So just wanted to point that out too. For an IFB, the special conditions is important because that outlines any milestones and deliverables, where you're supposed to be dropping things off or delivering items to. If there's any certifications or additional requirements, those will be noted in the special conditions. And if there's a sample that we need to see, like a printing sample or a demo or anything like that, that'll be in the special conditions also. The attachments that are provided at the end of each document are useful information, sometimes additional supplemental information to the scope that we're requesting. So those please pay very close attention to as well. And then also be mindful of the exhibits. The attachments and exhibits are very different. The exhibits at the end of our solicitations typically are documents we need you guys to fulfill, to complete and return to us with your submission, with your bid. It's not just for informational purposes. So please be mindful of that as well. A lot of our exhibits do require signatures and notaries, and I'll go through that in a second as well. But like I said, all of our documents, all of our templates are formulated differently. So just because you're familiar with one doesn't mean you'll be familiar with the other. So please review carefully and ask questions if you guys need assistance on what we're asking for as far as documentation, what you're supposed to submit, or even the scope or specifications that are being posted. Okay. All right. So some of the documents that I'm going to review in the demo include, and these are not limited. Our solicitations are not limited to these documents. These are our most common that appear in pretty much all of our solicitations, right? Our ISF form, or identifications of subcontractors form. We need one of these for each subcontractor that you are anticipating working with. The bid preference documents that I mentioned earlier, where you guys are applying for credits, that's for the IFB only, and it is optional, it's not required. The MBE, WBE utilization plan, so those are our compliance documents. The certificate of insurance, the pricing or the bid table is also very crucial, and the economic disclosure statement. This is one of the documents that we receive the most questions, the most pain points about, and I'll show you guys that document in a second, but this is the document that has a vendor signature page. So a lot of times, if you guys have looked at our actual PSA, there may be a section in there that outlines the Cook County's contact information, as well as the vendor's contact information, but the signature pages are very different. We have a separate signature page than each of the vendors for each of our contracts. So make sure you note that as well. That page 16, I believe it's 15 or 16, is a vendor signature page on the EDS document. And like I said earlier, these are some of the documents that are required. There may be several more required depending on the contract scope and contract requirements, but at a minimum, you will probably see these every time. Okay, and so now I'm gonna go through some of the websites that are crucial for you guys and getting information about some of our opportunities. So here is our Bonfire vendor portal. This is the live site. So this is exactly what you'll see once you are registered in Bonfire. Here's a list of some of our open opportunities, a description of what they're for, the using department, the close date, how many days you guys have left to close, and then you can click on and view the opportunity here to the far right. So I am just going to click on this second one, for example, the janitorial services. So when you open the opportunity, you're going to see some small project details that I kind of mentioned on the previous screen. Some people like a list, some people like a calendar, so we provided both with due dates. Upcoming events, so when the opportunity was posted, the deadline for questions, the deadline for submissions, those will be available here, and whether or not they have passed.
Sorry, it's still on your PowerPoint.
Oh,
we're not seeing.
Sorry, let me start over. Hold on. I'm sorry. Okay, can you guys see this now? The Bonfire?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry about that. Okay, let me go back. So this is our Bonfire vendor portal, where you guys can see the opportunities that we have posted to the public. These do not include our single source items, so our sole sources, piggybacks, things like that. These are ones where we're notifying all vendors of the opportunity. And I'll just click on one. So like I mentioned earlier, it gives us some details about the project itself with due dates. There's a list of due dates, and then we have the calendar, because some people are more visual. They want to see the calendar or the list, so we provided both. If you scroll down there, here are the upcoming events that are important. Some of these may be longer than the other depending on the project, but this one just lists the open and close date and when questions were due. Here are all of the commodity codes associated with this particular opportunity. So if you're registered under any of these codes, you should have been notified in Bonfire of this opportunity. So here is some supporting documentation. So this section here is just for reference. The RFP document is here. The EDS form and ISF forms, those forms I listed are here. They're housed here, so you can download and complete them at your leisure. But these are for informational purposes. The requested information section below, this corresponds to all of the documents you have to submit to us in order to complete your submission. So anything that has required next to it, you have to put something in this space in order to move forward and submit your response to us. And so for an RFP, obviously that's a lot more lengthy. You have your pricing, the supporting documents that I showed you at the top, and then everything pertaining to the technical proposal, which is what the committee will evaluate for this particular one. So if this was an IFB, this section wouldn't be here, but Just wanted to show you guys one of our more complex procurements so you can see what that'll look like. Another great feature about Bonfire is it shows us everyone who looked at this opportunity and which documents they looked at and whether or not they are a certified MBE, WBE, and who certified them. So if you guys are ever trying to partner with a sub or looking to fulfill that MBE requirement, here's a good place to look for that information. And then at the very bottom of the screen is where you would start to submit your response. Ooh, a lot of people viewed this one, I'm sorry. Right, so here is where you actually start to prepare your submission. I'm gonna go ahead and start. So here's what this will look like in real time. So I have an account as a test vendor, so I'm not gonna submit anything, but it shows your organization information. It gives you an upload section for every file that we're requesting you guys to submit. And then you can click on understand and finalize my submission on this screen. If you wanted to ask a question of the buyer, you can do that in the vendor discussion. So this is set up exactly like an email. If you guys wanted to start a question or an email to that buyer, all you would do is submit that question here and it populates here in the list as well as in the buyer's profile for that project, all in one space. And I think this is useful too, because you can see other questions that were asked in case you don't want to duplicate any efforts or just to make sure that your question is being addressed. You can do that here. So this is the Bonfire vendor portal. Let me show you guys really quickly our homepage. So we are editing some of this information, but this is the OCPO homepage on the Cook County, Illinois website. So one of the things that we were saying that we do post to the public is our contract opportunities as well as our awarded contracts and amendments. So let me just go to that information. Here is the link for the awarded contracts and amendments. And then here is open data. So this is where everything that we have posted, every contract and amendment that we have posted is housed. You can filter for a certain department, a certain contract type, or if you know the vendor name that you're looking for, you can filter that here and it shows you whether it's a contract or an amendment. And you can click on this link to open that actual document. So this is a real contract that we have executed with this vendor, posted to the public, with all of the supporting documentation within it. Okay, let me go back. I want to make sure we are able to answer questions. So let me go through some of our documentation really, really quickly. Here is our RFP template. So I'm going to go through our most complex. That way you guys have an understanding of everything that falls after that. But it outlines key due date information. It gives you a table of contents of what you can expect to find. So this one isn't filled out yet. I can go to one that's filled out, but just want you guys to see the template, right? So the overview, the purpose of this RFP, the objectives and the background, this portion is very, very important. A lot of people skip this and go right to the scope, but this will give you key information about why we need the scope in the first place and how you can better assist us in fulfilling that contract. It's going to give you guys a timeline of when things are due. And then all of the submittal requirements, that section is very, very important, right? So when you guys are looking for all the documentation that we require for this particular RFP, that'll be in this section, as well as the evaluation criteria. This is going to look different for each RFP, but this is important. So this is kind of like your grading rubric. This is going to show you what we're looking for and how we're going to score to determine the award for this particular project. So please don't bypass this either. This is highly, highly, highly important for our RFPs. Okay, and I'm just going to keep scrolling. Some of the other key information that we're asking for, again, like I said, those documents I listed in the beginning of the presentation, those are at a minimum. There are maybe several more required depending on the project scope. Okay, so that's just a small example of an RFP template. Let me show you guys our bid template. Okay. So here's our bid template. The cover page is a little bit similar, but the content and the way it's laid out is very, very different. Right, so we start off with instructions to bidders with definitions of what we're referring to. and instructions on how you can complete your bid. And it lists all of the preferences and credits that we offer here too, an explanation of what they're for and what they are. And then if I scroll down a little more, we're going to get to our general conditions. So this is boilerplate. It never changes. This is housed in every solicitation. And then after that, we get to the special conditions. And I don't want to make people dizzy by scrolling too fast. So hold on. Here we go. So here are the special conditions section. So it lists what a summary of what the scope is, how long we're determining this contract to be, the basis for award, any compliance requirements, where the services or the delivery should be performed, whether there's a site inspection or pre-bid conference. This is something new that we've added, price adjustment language since COVID. We've been getting a lot of requests for increases in unit pricing, and we have allotted for that in our bid templates now. And then if there's a site inspection, you would sign off on that here. This is where the actual scope or specifications for this bid would be outlined. And I'll go to one on our website so you can see what that looks like. And then I kind of wanted to show you guys our exhibits. Hold on. Here we go. So these are the exhibits that I was referring to that are a list of documents that you're probably going to be required to submit with your response. It has some information about submitting your bid electronically, and then it gets into those forms I was telling you about. So here's the ISF that's required for each subcontractor. You have to outline the project description itself and any subs that you're using, what they're going to be used for, the percentage that they're going to be paid, and then you have to sign it. Here's one of our veterans preferences documents. So if you are a company that is owned by a veteran, or if you hire veterans, you can apply for your credit here. That's this document. Here's another preference, the social enterprise preference, the veterans workplace. So this is if you're hiring veterans, businesses owned by people with disabilities. So all of those supporting documents are here for you to use. Here are the compliance utilization plan documents that are required for each submission. A spot holder for the certificate of insurance. This is where your pricing would be if applicable. And then here's the economic disclosure statement. This is the most complex and the one we get the most questions about. I'll just spend 1 minute talking about this and then I'll open it for questions. So here are a couple of instructions, a couple of pages of instructions and definitions for you all. And then we get into the heart of the EDS document, right? So if you are associated with doing any lobbyists, we want to note that here. Here's where you can apply for the local business preference. That information goes here, and we do check that. And we normally we ask for the PIN number so we can verify that that business is within Cook County. The child support obligations, this applies more to individuals doing business or requesting to do business with us, whether or not we have to verify that they don't owe any child support with the state. Ownership disclosure, so you have to give us information about your company, who you're doing business as, the type of company, and then anyone who has interest in your company of more than 5%, you have to list that here because we have to do a background check on them as well. And this has to be signed and notarized. The familiar disclosure form. If you guys are have any relationships with anyone in Cook County, whether it's a board member, employee, that could cause a conflict, we need to make note of that, and we'll make the determination of whether it's a conflict or not, but you do have to disclose that information. So it asks for information about the contract itself, as well as who those familiar relationships are with on the second page. All right, the wage theft ordinance, just to make sure that you guys are paying your employees what you're supposed to be paying them. That has to be filled out. And then here's the contract execution page I was referring to. So there isn't a space within our PSA or our professional service agreement or our contract document for vendors to sign. This is the page that binds the vendors to our contracts. We get to ask that question a lot. So just make sure you guys are note of that. And then here's the OCPO, our chief's signature page, or Cook County's signature page at the end of that document. Okay, any questions about any of that before I open the floor for you all in general? Okay.
Yeah, quick question. So, how mandatory we need a minority businesses certification for IT projects?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for IT projects, RFPs,
Mhm.
it's a very mandatory for minority business certification.
Dr. Butler, can you chime in on that one?
Sure. Yeah. So it's never mandatory to have a certification to bid on a contract. Certifications allow you to be considered within a very specified demographic of people. So, for instance, there may be a goal, a participation goal that has been assigned to a contract. For minority businesses, that goal could be 25%. So what that means is that there's a portion of that contract that needs to be spent with 25% of minority businesses. That's where certification will start to help you. The same with a woman business enterprise certification. You don't need to have a certification. You can definitely bid on a contract without a certification or connect with a prime contractor without a certification. But that certification does allow you a bit of a leveraging advantage if you're wanting to be considered for a portion of the contract as a subcontractor. And that certification process is done through the Office of Contract Compliance.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions, comments?
Hi, this is Lauren Mann, Industrial UI Services. I was wondering, once a bid is submitted for an RFP, what does the timeline usually look like in making a decision? And then how are the potential vendors that submitted notified to a change in the status of their submission?
Of course. So with an RFP, that's our most complex form of a solicitation. That can take up to or maybe more than 6 months because one, it has to be posted for 30 days. And then there's a responsiveness check that the buyer does, making sure that each vendor submitted all the documents that we require. So remember when I showed you guys that list of documents that were required to be submitted with this particular procurement? We're going through and checking to make sure that, can you guys see my bonfire screen? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the responsiveness check, right? We're going through to make sure you guys actually submitted the paperwork that we asked you for. The next part of that is the committee review. And that's where the committee will review the technical proposal to make sure that whatever you're proposing as far as your methodology, your work plan meets the needs of our agency, and they score and rank those. So it's hard to say exactly how long an RFP will take. We won't really know that until we receive responses, because we can get 2 responses that are 200 pages each, or we can get 9 responses that are 400 or 500 pages each. And we have had both. And so obviously if we get 9 responses that are 400 pages each, that's going to take a little longer to review. And then we have to take into account our negotiation phase and the board phase. So that's why it can take at least 6 months for an RFP to be completed. Bids where we're only looking at pricing, those can take around 3 months, because again, they have to be posted for 30 days. Well, typically we post for 30 days. We do a quick responsiveness check. And then if depending on the dollar amount, it may have to go to the board, which adds another month to that timeline, because they get to review the documentation, the contract, approve the pricing and the term before we can actually post that award to the public. So it depends on the type of project, how long it will take. But for an RFP, typically 6 months. And when we shortlist or when we determine that we're moving forward with certain vendors and not with others, the vendors we're not moving forward with will be notified in the form of a letter. But we do notify vendors when we're able to of any change in the process. If it's a change that we can't let them know of, no problem.
All right, Sheena, so we have a few questions. We're definitely not going to have time to get to all of them because we have about 5 minutes left, but we do have a couple of questions that I will navigate through the chat to try and ask to you. You may have already answered them throughout your presentation because you did cover a ton of information. Thank you so much. And for the gentleman who asked for the Cook County Health and Hospitals procurement page link, I put that at the bottom of the chat, so you should see that down at the bottom. If you want to look at that, they do have their own procurements, as Sheena spoke. Let me see. Okay, are we expected to submit the EDS form with our solicitation, and they are to be notarized at the time of submitting the proposal, correct?
Yes, that is correct. That document is required and to be completely filled out and notarized. Not completing that document may deem you non-responsive. So that's why I went over that one in more detail, because it is required. Absolutely.
Okay. Latia, I think that's how you say your name. If not, I sincerely apologize. She asked the question, does your company have to be in Cook County to do business with them? So your company has to be within the 6 collar counties, Cook County, which is one of the 6 collar counties. So the answer to your question is not technically, but yes, that makes sense.
So we do have a lot of businesses that are not housed in Cook County that do business with us. They may just have an office here, for example, but we do have businesses that are in California, New York, that do apply for work with us. Depending on the project itself, we may ask that you have an office here, especially for like an RFP. But for bids where we're just asking you guys to deliver paper, it's not required. Some departments may prefer it though, but it's not required for most of our bids.
Right. Thank you for that, Sheena. The addendum to that is if you want to be certified within Cook County, you do have to have an office. So Sheena just mentioned an office. So that's a technicality part of it all. So a business has to have an office in Cook County or one of the 6 collar counties in order to be certified, which then translates over into if you want to use that certification on a contract in Cook County, then the answer to that question would be that. So I'm glad she specified that, because that in that is where there's a little bit of a difference. So thank you for clarifying that, Sheena. Let me look again. What is the term IFB? Did you? Oh, somebody already. That's invitation for bid.
Invitation for bid, yes.
Somebody already answered that. Let me go in and see. I apologize. I was not here when you all could not see the live demo. I was in my email answering these hundreds of emails for people who didn't get in the room.
Yeah, one question is for me. This is Abdul Qadir. Can I ask if you don't mind?
Go ahead.
Yeah, my company is IT services, and I'm certified with the state of Illinois and minorities business. So I can do the Cook County bid RFPs too, or I need to separate minority business certification.
Can you repeat that part one more time for me, sir?
Okay. My company is in IT services, and my company has been certified from state of Illinois in minority business.
Got it.
Can I bid that? Yeah, can I bid that RFP in Cook County, or I need a separate certification?
Okay, so here's where there's a technicality. So you do not have to have a certification to bid on a contract, right? The only time your certification matters, the only time that what you just mentioned matters is if you have a certification. Right now, Cook County does not have a reciprocity agreement with the state of Illinois, so your state of Illinois certification would not matter. The only governmental agency that we have a relationship of reciprocity with is the city. So that means if you're certified with the city, you don't have to be certified with the county for us to recognize your certification with the city and admit it in your paperwork for contract consideration. So if you're only certified with the state of Illinois, then you would and you want to be considered for minority certification leveraging, then you would need to be certified with the city or with the county. And obviously, we're going to be a proponent for being certified with the county. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. But I certify with the city in DBE certification and ACDBE certification, not MBE.
Right.
So
Yeah,
Okay.
so unfortunately, right now we've been in communication about possibly building a DBE certification within Cook County. We don't have that right now, so that certification wouldn't translate over, or I'm sorry, wouldn't transfer over.
Okay, I can use that, right? In Cook County RFP.
You can use that with the city, but not
Okay,
with Cook County because we don't have a relationship of reciprocity for DBE certification. We have a relationship of reciprocity for MBE certification.
okay, got you. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, you all. So, unfortunately, we are at the end, and it's been a very rich discussion. Thank you so much, Sheena, for everything that you have poured into us today. We will probably be in talks about doing something like this another time. I do understand the benefit of having on-demand learning and being able to go to our YouTube channel and pull up this and refresh your memory. But there's just something about being able to have it live. And so we'll be in communication to try and see if we can do something like this again, virtually or possibly in person. So be on the lookout for that. As well. If you're not on the Office of Contract Compliance email list, definitely send me an email. I'm the person who sent the email out to you all 30 minutes prior to the session. And then, as Sheena mentioned, you do want to be registered in Bonfire. If you're not registered in Bonfire, there's a really big initiative that we're focused on here at Cook County to get people registered in Bonfire. And so if you're not registered in Bonfire so that you can have the notification of whatever procurements are coming out, you want to make sure that you do that as soon as possible. All right. Let me go ahead and stop this.